pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes?
Yes,
Here, you can take these.
I can make more copies, or I'm gonna have, as soon as we approve them, Tess will put them on the website. Sure. Gas drilling meeting, March 11th, 2013. Members present, Earl Kinney, Craig Schumacher, and Kara McAway. Kara presented numbers categorized under leisure and hospitality for Sullivan County in 2012. In January 2012, employment numbers created by leisure and hospitality were 2,100, April 2012, 2,300, July 2012, 4,000, October 2012, 2,500. Craig made a statement that we should protect the township in any way before drilling comes. We talked about some specific articles to be added into the matrix. Number one being article which fracking outpaces science, to be added to number one in the matrix as documentation. Popular Mechanics article, top 10 myths about fracking. And number three, fracking and agricultural tax exemptions. Use these articles as source to economics. And we began writing a conclusion for the economic piece of the matrix. It's summarized as employment, food, housing, construction, trucking, and engineering services would see a boom-bust cycle over an 18-month, 3-year period. All tax revenues, including sales, property, and income, will go up. A negative conclusion may be that there will be inflation on products in the area to the elderly and those on a fixed income. Next step is to continue writing our conclusion.
I have points about the minutes. Three points. One, what is the source of the leisure and recreation?
Oh, Sullivan County Planning.
Okay. And second, on that particular, the dramatic drop between 4,000 and 2,500, what accounts for that? Is there any?
Well, I would say seasonal employment. You know, that's July 2012's quarter, so that would be the seasonal difference.
Oh, I see. All right.
Were you looking for a study? Were you looking for a particular study?
No. I was just curious. And on the final conclusion on the economic, I think it's important to add a negative, not just that it might impact seniors, but in the implication of bust cycle is that it undermines existing economic bases. It's boom bust, but it means that there's an increase in certain kind of employment, but in the bust cycle, there's also a decrease of previous employments, previous types of employments, I should say.
So what you should actually do is write down all the things that you have going for yourself now and what you're not going to have when you're done.
I mean, you can't be sure about it,
Well,
but you know, that's what you try to estimate how it might impact on recreation and leisure, how it might impact on agriculture, how it might impact on second homeowner related employment and so forth. I mean, there's no way you can, you know, give any set figures, but that's what the boom bust cycle implies.
So there has to be a starting point from somewheres.
Right. The starting point is before the boom.
The point is that I'm bringing out is nearly the same as what you are, but you know, with 11.3 unemployment, there's not much going on.
Right.
Is it going to be worse than that?
That's the point.
You know, how you
exactly.
gonna-
We don't know.
That's it.
But that
So-
certainly should be a consideration. Yeah.
Right.
The only thing I would add is you mentioned seniors and fixed income rentals. I rent, so I'm sensitive to that. Rental properties might become limited and higher in price and stuff like that.
Okay.
So just, if you're going to talk about seniors and fixed income, I would say also renters.
Okay.
And when I said that I'd like to make sure we help the town, I really meant that it should be part of our mission statement.
Okay.
Should be part of our own.
Mission statement, part of our goal. So with that said, you guys approve?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think we want to bring up something that we've been trying to pursue here, is that recruit some fracking committee members. So you suggested Roy, I believe, for that?
Doug.
Or Doug, excuse me, I'm
Doug.
sorry, Doug.
And I also called to see if he was interested, Carl Rosenberg, because he was on that list that
Okay.
Steve Lundgren
Oh,
gave me.
Steve, okay.
So I took it upon myself to ask him. Couldn't make this meeting tonight, but he said he'd consider it and he'd be back to me in a day or two.
I have a suggestion as well. There's a Mike Allen that works for the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, and he works in the watershed. And of course, the watershed declined fracking in the watershed area, in DEP. So I'm curious of the reasons that they declined fracking.
I asked also originally, right to start with, they asked Carl Hahn,
Is that DEP or DEC?
that's DEC.
Could I ask you to speak up? I'm a little hard of hearing
Oh, I'm
both of
sorry.
Carlos
you.
NPS.
Pardon?
Carlos NPS.
That's
Park
right, National Park Service, right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Well, Mike Allen works for the DEP, and he works in the watershed area. Now, I don't know exactly his position on fracking, but he does work for the DEP. He's privy to information on why the watershed declined fracking within the watershed area, where New York City declined it, doesn't allow it. So, I just thought he's an engineer for the most part, project manager for the DEP. But I thought it'd be interesting, his views on the subject. So, he'll be here at 6 o'clock.
He is
Oh,
coming.
Yeah,
good.
he'll be here tonight, so
Good.
we'll see, see if he has we want ideas to help this thing move forward a little bit. I think we're a little bit bogged down right now in the researching and the matrix. The matrix to me is, I don't know how well it's coming along at this point.
Well, we're just concluding now, economics. so-
Economics, yeah. But,
And Cindy is still willing to organize.
you see, well, that's
Yeah.
great.
So,
Corey has, it appears she has some reservations about it, but I think she would help with it.
Do you really think that we're ready to conclude on economics?
No, I
No.
don't think so.
Huh?
I don't think
No.
so at all.
No,
No,
no. I
no,
think there's a lot more to be put into it.
sure.
They're very interested to see what, this fellow says tonight. And I also had spoken to Carl Hahn, who's in the National Park Service. She would have been interested, she was gonna get back to me, but she had to see whether there was a confliction with her job.
Yeah,
So that's where that stands, and I don't have the answer from her yet, so I would assume the answer's no.
yeah. That's too bad.
Yes,
Oh, good
because
answer.
there's, anyone, the same as this Alan that you're talking about, I mean, they deal with it every day, so you're not talking about
That's
something
right.
new to
Sure.
them, or something they have to look up, Maybe a lot of it they will have to, or some of it they'd have to, but at least they have the access to it.
Mhm. So are you sitting, Doug, are you sitting in tonight just to, out of curiosity here, are you interested in being a fracking member?
Well, I'm gonna formulate an opinion
Oh, okay, sure.
and then make a determination.
Okay.
You know, like anybody else, I've got prior commitments, and anything new I take on compromises my performance on all of my others, so.
Yeah, wow, hey, Doug, believe me, I have to go be to work tonight at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
And I'm working on about 4 hours sleep right now since last night, so, you know.
Kids and work and other things that I've committed to,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a feel for,
Yeah.
you know, what it is that needs to be done, and progress that's made, and
Yeah.
the goal in mind, and is it something that I can dedicate time to, or be like a half-assed kind of cog that doesn't really help things move along?
I think any input is helpful, Doug, and you know, you have to keep in mind that this thing is probably an ongoing thing. It might take us another year to get through this thing, and I don't think anyone here is opposed to the idea of it lasting that long.
No.
You know, it's something we're not in a rush. We want to do it right. So.
I don't think there's a rush on this thing to begin with, from everything I've been reading.
Yeah. Well, that's
As
right.
far as it being legalized right from the state down, as far as, even if it was legalized from state down to come in and drill, I don't think they're gonna come here to begin with. The better part of the gas apparently sounds as though it's on the other end of the state. And they're geared up apparently for Pennsylvania on the western part of the state.
Mhm.
So the wells that were drilled over here have been capped off, covered up corn. I don't see the urgency in it, you know, like we thought it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know.
From what I've read, it appears to be deeper, or what they call fried.
That's what they're claiming.
So,
Right.
you know, whether they can extract anything, but who knows, there may be something there in the future, technology that maybe they'll, you know, you never know. So,
That's right.
it's still probably a good idea to protect ourselves.
Right. And they also drilled here. I can't understand all the interest into it if there isn't gas here, because they drilled in Chandelier 25 years ago, so they know what's here. You know, is it burnt or isn't it burnt? I don't know. You know, but I do know that where that site is because I worked on it. You know, and they were drilling for gas then. So if the interest is here, we'll have to see.
Yes, Tom?
Just for your information, this may amount to nothing, but you should know that I've given some thought about whether I could be helpful on the commission. I'll be talking to Ed about it. I'm not sure that it really would be, you know, a good thing, but I'll have a discussion with him about it. So just for your information.
So,
I mean, ultimately, the town board makes the decision who sits on the committee, so I think we can suggest, but they're gonna make the ultimate decision. And the end result is to be able to present something pretty concrete to the town board at the end of this, you know, present our findings in a report or matrix, I guess, presentation.
Quarterly, or
No, at the end,
at the end,
yes,
wherever the end is?
whenever the end. We have, you know, we've divided into economics and quality of life and environmental issues. So once we conclude each thing and we put it into a format that can be presented to the town board, that would be the end, essentially. I guess that would be the end.
The idea was, the form here was to have people onto it that weren't either way, and to tell each one of these questions, like the boom or the bust and right on down the line, what is the actual truth behind it? You know, some are gonna have a big say one way, some are gonna have things that, oh, you'll never get insurance, you'll never get bank mortgages and everything else. Well, that's not so. What all they asked us to do was come back with the truth on these topics. So
Who asked?
Town board.
Oh, town board.
Town board. And we started out using, what was it, the Penn State, we had some part of Penn State's breakdown, and then we went to Syracuse's breakdown.
Cornell.
I think I've
But there's a lot of independent studies.
a lot of independent studies is right, you know. And each one of them, you have to read it and reread it and read it until you get, you know, where's this person coming from, where are they getting their number, where are they getting the facts from,
Right.
and what is their outlook onto it. And most of them, a good share of all of it, first time you read it, you know where they're coming from. You know, I mean, it's either completely anti or completely positive, which I don't think there's anything on the face of this earth that's completely one way or the other.
We're trying to use a peer-to-peer review so that, you know, when we get to the bottom of this thing, it's, you know, there's not, hopefully there won't be too much outside forces to, you know, working on the people that's writing it. You know what I mean? So that there's some level of, what's a good word for it? You know, there's some level of,
Credibility.
yeah, credibility is the word, yeah.
Objectivity.
Objectivity.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And in the process, you field questions from,
We get help from the outside, yeah, from people that.
Got a lot of help from the outside so
Sure,
far.
yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of-
And we're pretty open at the meetings, you know, if it's the public would like to say something, we usually have the time to hear it. Take the time.
I know you weren't a special guest. We had someone come that was an economics professor, an economist. And you got this guy from the DEP coming, and we've talked about somebody that's a doctor, Larissa Dershka, to come talk about health impacts. I think you were talking about going on a field trip to PA.
Right, which I think the planning board is planning on going to. I don't know, it's probably gonna be a compression station, but maybe also a well site. So maybe we can get like a field trip going together. We've been talking about that in the planning board, where everybody goes to
Oh, yeah?
Pennsylvania, Susquehanna County.
But you can find just about everything on the internet. You can actually go with a camera down a well site if you'd like. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what's out there on this stuff. A lot of information out there on it too, once you start researching it.
so of the basic or the base questions that have been put to you, you're just constantly refining answers or getting more information to evolve into a
Pretty much.
solid answer?
Well, it has worked out that way, but in the process, it seems to have developed a few more questions each time we come up with a thought or you think you pretty much got it. It also leaves you with a couple extra questions too. You know. As far as taxes, like the town taxes, and some of the stuff goes hand in hand. The question here was on the agriculture tax exemption fraction and the taxes overall. In the next part of the economics, well, the town actually is going to benefit considerably by farmers losing their tax exemption on that parcel of property. They're going to gain because it's going to be taxed commercially. But the farmer isn't going to lose a farm exemption on this whole plot. It'll be on the drilling pad and the driveway to it. So you see, where somebody might come out with a statement, oh, the farmer's going to lose his farm exemption. That's not so. It all fits together. But that's how you start to make the situation, straighten out the facts, you know. And yes, both parties were right, but it fits together.
However, it's only taxed on the well site itself, it's not the whole farm.
Right.
So that's
redundant.
taken
But if you
out,
read
that
some
property.
stories, Doug, this is the interesting part. If you read some stories, it sounds like it's the whole farm.
Right.
I mean, I've
Right.
read research where, you know, they try to make it sound like it's the whole farm, but when you get to the end of the line, it's only the well site.
Right. But it is commercially zoned, so the town does make out with it. Taxed at a much higher rate. So both parties actually make out.
But there's a lot of interesting things too, like, you know, when they come and start drilling, and there's meters, and that's how they gauge how much material's coming out of the ground, so that the landowners can get paid for their percentage of it. Well, it turns out that the meter readers work for the oil companies. There's no oversight on it. And that's where the town, if it does happen, that's where the town could step in probably and, you know, have a meter reader or whatever. But that's just one of the things that we could do to protect the landowners. But more than that, we really want to find out whether, well, one of the missions is to find out whether it's safe. You know, I mean, you hear stories about, you know,
The point we all agree on, and everybody, I think everybody in this room agrees on this. We're not gonna jeopardize our water and our homes and our place for our children to live for gas beyond anything else. That's a common ground, so everybody can get that straight now. We're not gonna try to jeopardize the next 200 years worth of living, or 400 or 500 for gas right now. But is it being done safely? Well, then maybe we can do it. You know? I mean, it's not something new. The technology of fracking is a little new, but they also got about 7 different kinds of materials out there, compounds that they frack with. So you could be talking about a rosin-based fracking compound. You could be talking about all kinds of stuff. What's in each one of them? You'd have to go to the gas company to find out. You know?
environmental impact is a big one.
It's
And
the
they're still
biggest
doing
one.
studies now, and one of the big things right now is that, you know, the atmosphere around these sites is, it sounds like there might be more to that than what we knew about 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
It could be pretty bad.
I haven't been up on that much. I haven't heard much about the, you know, as far as the air pollution or anything like that.
Well, I don't want to take away from the agenda of the meeting, but I have a question, if I could ask it. Is there a town similar in physical size, dimension, population, construction that we have here in, say, Pennsylvania, that you're looking at towards what could and what did and what does go on,
That's what Tara's talking about.
and then find out what the pros and
Yeah,
cons? I mean, I'm sure that that's probably been addressed, but is there like a specific area?
Well, we haven't decided on what area that is right yet, but that whole thought, yes, that process is in motion.
I think
That's a
we're-
lot what the Penn State study did, though. You know, it took the Penn State at Western Pennsylvania and used it for as part of the criteria, part of the information to write the Penn State study. And there's a lot of similarities there, but the Penn State study seems to be is one of those studies that appears to be influenced by oil companies. So it's not as good as the Cornell study in that regard, probably, but still pretty interesting to read, though. I'll say that.
I think we're looking to go to Susquehanna County because that's where they're actively drilling. They're not really actively drilling in Dimick anymore.
Well, it makes sense if you were looking at someplace that has it happening now, because then they're following whatever guidelines would be implemented here, if any.
I think it would be good to look at somewhere where they're actively drilling and then somewhere where they've left. Just, you know, see that boom and bust.
Is that what you're looking for?
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
it, yeah, it is. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Have a seat.
So this last point, I think that there, I mean, it's a good question. There are two counties in Pennsylvania that you might say, they're not really equivalent, but where there has been the most drilling, Bradford, and I'm blocking on the second.
Washington?
No. Anyway, they're adjacent.
Tioga?
Huh?
Is it Tioga?
Yes, yes. And I think they should be looked at because they will have some of the answers that you're looking for. But the one thing that I would caution about is the timeline because as far as I know, it's been going on roughly 4 years or so, which is really the beginning of the process. We don't know how it will play out, you know, in 10 years as opposed to 4 years. But it's significant to look at what, for example, if there are wells that are running dry already, that's an indication. Maybe it's not quite as productive as people think. We don't know, but I'm saying that is a good way to go, is to look at the counties where it's been happening the most.
Maybe the next thing we should do is try to get in touch with one of these, contact one of the townships and see if we can go there and just go from there.
Why can't we call the county, source of information, call like soil and water, before they close it up, soil and water conservation, and find out if they don't have a neighboring county soil and water conservation in, you
So-
said Bradford County, Tioga County?
Yes.
And see if they
Some of
can't
the
give
Penn
us-
State studies do deal with some of
See
these.
if they can't give us a phone number for their equal in Bradford County and Tioga County. I'm sure they probably have it for the whole state somewheres.
Well, Tioga County's New York.
Yes.
We're not
It's-
drilling
they're
there,
too
though.
adjacent, yeah, I'm,
Yeah, that's the southern tier up there.
Yeah, they're close to one another,
Yeah.
Bradford and Tioga, but Tioga County's New York.
Tioga County, Pennsylvania too, isn't
Is there?
it? I think there is, I'm not positive. No, what state we in?
New York.
I think it may be good to plan a trip and then go with our questions
Right
and.
down to Sarah.
Mm.
Here's Sarah.
There's Sarah,
So that's right on the Pennsylvania
So it is,
border.
yeah, it is southern tier.
And somewhere up there, I wanna say it's like Horseheads, there was a compression station that
All right.
the planning board was gonna look at. Somewhere in here, Horseheads area,
Mhm.
so it's not too
Right.
far.
Hmm. Okay, so, okay.
This fella do work.
Yeah, now this, Mike, this is Mike Allen, the guy I was referring to before. I sort of
Good evening.
introduced you before.
Oh, thank you.
And, you know, one of the questions is why they didn't, why they don't allow fracking in the watershed? So,
I've actually started, I work for New York City DEP, and I have, DEP's done some research, and at this point, I'm not completely familiar with the process which they develop their judgment, but I think we all realize now that fracking inside the watershed, New York City's watershed, is going to be prohibited. And I was hoping to get some information from that decision-making process to, bring to our town, try to figure out, what their reasonings were behind their judgment. But the deputy commissioner wasn't in today, so I wasn't able to get those contacts. But it's something, any information we can use to make an educated decision is, better than less information. So I don't have the information yet for that, but hopefully I'll be able to get it soon.
What does the watershed encompass? What area?
Schoharie counties, Greene County, Ulster, Delaware, Sullivan.
What part of Neversink, that area?
Neversink, up through Denning, town of Denning, all around the Ronette Reservoir. That's part of Warsing County. Quite a large area, actually, in New York State. But I can also get, the watershed maps. I can actually, I was downloading, you're looking at some of the counties in PA. It looks like Bradford is one of the highest. Tioga is next to that. Washington County.
That's Tioga, Pennsylvania.
Yep, that's what he was asking. Some of the I just typed in the number of wells in PA, highest concentration. But we can get the DEP maps. I can actually get that online as well. We can look at that area. But when I get more information on that, we can present that as well.
An interesting factor in that, like Tom said, is how long have they been doing it already? How long have they been into it, so that we get kind of a time schedule as, where, if there is a boom in the bust, and how soon is this thing going to play out?
I think, like Kara said, the best source of information is going to be, the people that live there and the decision making, and
Sure.
the planning boards down there. They're going to know the information. All the
Well,
applications were
plan
filed
a
down
trip-
there.
Plan a trip to either one or the other, whichever place. At least we'd be going to the right one if we know about how long they've been into it. And,
Yep. And actually you can see them, what the landscape looks like. I don't think I've even seen a fracking site other than pictures on the internet.
Do you want me to email Jerry Euchre and see if he's working on setting anything up? He's the chair of the planning board.
Who's that?
Jerry Euchre.
Oh, yeah,
He's
sure.
gonna be working on something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would almost think that he's probably not going to go as far away as you guys are talking about, though, because they're looking at compressor stations, and they don't
And
have
he
to go
said
that
like
far.
Elmira, but if you
Really?
look where Bradford County is, it's before Elmira.
Jerry was talking about going as far as Elmira?
Yeah, we were talking about that. I believe it was like Elmira, Horseheads, that area is where we were
I
gonna
didn't
go.
think you'd have to go that far for a compressor station. Okay.
So if we could kind of lump it all into
What
one.
is the time schedule, I wonder, on this compressor station right here on Hungry Hill?
I don't know.
Anybody know?
Does anybody know? It's Delaware
Pipeline's
County.
already in. I know they got the property.
But it's in Delaware County, right? It's not
Oh,
Sullivan
yeah,
County.
but it's, 6 miles away, 7
Right.
miles.
And there's one going in, was it Minnesink, or is it gonna go in Minnesink Valley,
Yeah.
or?
They-
I
There
don't know
was
if they
like a
shot
lot
that,
of-
I don't know if they
I
shot
don't know
that
if
down
that's
or
been
not.
shot down or not.
Yeah. that's right.
Or haven't.
All right, well, I'll contact.
Thing to do is probably why Jerry's planning this trip, if you're probably up on the reason as to why they're going, is the noise factor? Is that what they're, is that?
Well, we're trying to change the zoning laws to include a new section on making a compressor station a permissible special use in our town, in both the rural and the Cal Alcom business districts. And so it's real timely now, you know, where they've passed that on to the town board. The town board's gonna introduce those changes at the next meeting, and then we'll have a public hearing probably a couple of weeks after that. So they might, I don't know if they're trying to get your compressor station field trip for the planning board.
Oh, we've had to do a
Soon.
little, kinda have to do a little coaxing, I think, for that field trip, but.
Well, if they're going to a compressor station, that's almost a different, it's part of what we want to know, but is it in the drilling area itself? The drilling is taking place right now, that's the question.
Well, you can have a compression station
You're gonna have to have
without
one.
even having any new,
Right.
you know, drilling.
I know there's one going in up there, that I'm sure of, right here, you know.
I think there'll be more,
Right.
obviously, if
Yeah.
we're actively drilling here.
But they need them along the pipeline every X number of miles, whether there's a well anywhere nearby. It's more to do with whether the pipeline's going through the property.
And I don't think you want one of those in your backyard.
Well, I got a question on this thing. Now, this compressor station is supposed to move X amount of cubic feet of this material, or however they measure it. How is it we've never needed a compressor station around here before?
Well, that's, I think it's the anticipation that there's gonna be so much more gas flowing through. Plus, they made that line, they made the linear pipeline and went from an 8-inch line to a 36-inch line, I believe.
30-inch line, right?
Yeah, so it's,
Now, that has to be pumped instead of like they were doing it? You know, at how far does it, you know, what intervals does this break down to for a compressor station?
do you know what the interval is that it?
You know, when we get into the environmental part, impact part of this thing, gas lines, there's lots of connections. I mean, how long was the pipe on that one, I mean, how long was each pipe that they welded together?
Oh, boy. I think they were 40-foot lengths.
40-foot lengths, I mean, so you just, if you were to pipe, if you were to make a line, well, let's just use Delaware Township. I mean, what do you have, 50 miles or so, or, no, less than that, how many miles?
Across the township?
Across the township.
Oh, tops 20.
Well, my
tops
point
20.
is, there's so many connections along the way and so many welds along the way. You have the compression stations every so often and so on. There's so many connections that at each one there's a very good chance of some escape. So that by the time you get to the receiving end of this thing, there's a substantial
I
amount
doubt
of.
that very much, and I'll tell you why, Craig,
Really?
because each one of these joints are
Yeah.
X-rayed.
Yeah, but
They're not only welded, but they're X-rayed and tested.
Okay, but when they get to, let's say when they get to the station, and every time that they take gas or include some, there's a connection and there's gas release. So that you take all the hundreds and hundreds of miles of this thing, there's gas released on each one of these things. It's a fairly substantial amount.
No, I don't think I'd be worrying too much about it.
No?
No,
Okay.
no, because they had the
I
technique
mean,
set down.
that's one of the arguments
They had the technique set down that they could tap into this line without losing anything. With a fully charged line,
really.
yeah. Now, I don't
30
understand how they
30
do that, and that throws a question in my mind, just
Well,
like you're saying, but
That's what I'm
they
saying.
do it, and it's a,
Yeah.
you know, my first question would be, how do we do this without blowing up? You know, and they're doing it, so.
One of the fire department informational videos and seminars that I went to, they talked about how they put a robot inside of the pipe to do routine inspections
Yeah.
of the joints and the lengths of pipe.
They did that in
I
water
can't
lines.
see them even shutting it down to do that, but I don't know
Well, they
if
probably
that's
don't
true.
shut down.
So if you have the ability to put this thing in and then pull it back out again, and you have a vested
There should
interest
be better
in it.
ways of testing whether they're losing gas, though. I'm sure there's better ways than that. I mean, you can tell, the old phone lines, the old phone cables used to have pressure on those. And, I mean, the guy would just walk down the road with an instrument and they could hear it, actually, the air escaping from the ground. And this was 30 years ago, so, you know, technology's gotten a lot better since then.
I
I'm
can
sure there's plenty
remember
of
that walking with the.
You seen that?
I
Yeah,
seen
that's
them,
what- that's
and
what
I
they
wondered
do.
what that was all
Yeah,
about.
yeah, that's what they do.
That's a while ago, you know, dating.
Yeah, I know, yeah. 2 days. But, okay, so, I guess, can we start with, introducing Doug and Mike to this thing? I mean, how do you wanna go about this thing? You wanna, somehow
Well-
we're gonna have to make the connection between Doug and Mike and the town board.
Right. Well, I think
So-
Doug and Mike have to decide if they're interested or not.
Yeah, well, we've already approved them. We're desperate for.
Is Mike interested in joining them?
Yes, he is, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good, all right. Mm-hmm.
I remain to be seen.
Okay.
Pardon?
It remains to be seen with me.
Okay,
I'll make my decision tonight,
all right. Right.
and then I'll send emails out or messages
We
accordingly.
could probably just call Ed too, and then he can just put it in.
I'd rather send you an email
Okay.
or something.
Town board is
17.
the 17th, so they would have to approve it on the 17th.
You met with Ed, Mike?
At who?
Ed Sykes, the supervisor?
I know Ed, but
Okay.
I haven't met him about this, no.
Okay.
This is my first meeting.
That's something.
Craig informed me that, you know, they need volunteers. And I've got an engineering background and I live in the town, so I'm
sounds
obviously concerned.
So
And,
I mean, so today's the 8th, and so it's about 10 days is the next town board meeting. If
Yep.
you work that out with Craig and meet with Ed, then he can put it on the agenda for the town board meeting.
okay. Put it on the-
17th is next meeting?
17th is the next board meeting,
Or
and then
Town board meeting.
Town board.
this meeting, we talked about doing the first, didn't we talk about doing it the first Monday of the month?
Right,
We couldn't do it last time because you were away,
right.
but we can, I'm fine with that for next month,
So May 6th.
be May 6th, yeah.
Should be around the 6th, but it, oh, May.
What time do you need to start? Board meeting?
It'd be the 6th, yeah.
Wednesday, third Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
At 7.
10 o'clock.
So I can make 7. I work weird hours. I just-
You don't have to go to the town board meeting,
Okay.
just this meeting, which is the first Monday of every month. Does that
Right.
work?
At 5:30.
At
Right.
5:30, but if you, do you need to make it later? Do you need to make it
Well,
6?
my schedule is
Oh.
8 to 4:30 one week, and then 8 to 5 the next.
Okay,
So if it just happens to fall on my long week, then I'll be a little bit late,
Well,
like I was
I'm thinking
today.
about it, but I wanna talk to Ed because I wanna be clear that I can really be helpful.
Yeah.
You know, I wanna make sure that,
Yeah.
you know, I get a clear message of in what ways I could be helpful to your commission.
Okay.
So I'll be talking to him.
Okay.
Okay.
So, where do you wanna go?
So are you gonna talk to Ed about?
I'll talk to Ed about mine.
Okay.
Doug, you let us know.
How many, how many people are we talking about actually?
I think we wanted to have 6 total,
So you're talking about three more people?
3 more
Right.
people. So if Mike's gonna join, we have 4, possibly Doug, that would be 5, so we'd need 1 more.
Well, you certainly have the credentials, Tom, that's for sure.
There's no question.
Well, you know, but, you know.
I know, yeah.
Ed, I'm sure has some clear ideas of what he wants, and I wanna make sure I'm on board with that, you know?
He says he wants the truth and he wants open-minded people to
Well,
serve, so.
That's lofty, but I'm not sure.
I think there's a few people that come to these meetings that he wouldn't want to see on the commission, but I don't know how he feels about you exactly, but you might, he can be reached, you know? You know, he's somewhat reasonable, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's all we ask for here, is
We all
reasonable
want
people.
what's best for the town in the future. That's the bottom line.
You know, I've been labeled as the anti-fracker, you know, that's the way Ed set this thing up, you know, so, you know, and Earl's pro-fracking, you know. But let me tell you something, Earl and I look a lot the same way at this thing, you know, we want what's best for the township, you know, we don't wanna,
Right.
you know, we don't want somebody to come in and overrun the county and leave a cesspool here and move on, you know what I mean? We don't want that for sure, and, you know, we both lived here all our lives, so it's the last thing we
No,
want.
my problem, to be honest with you, is that, you know, I'm pretty definite opinions. I'm fair-minded.
I think you are.
I'm definitely open, you know, I'm not closing my mind, but maybe he doesn't want somebody who has such clear opinions, I'm not sure. I wanna make, you know, because the way I could be helpful is to look at the long-term consequences of this process. That's where my orientation is. I would not dispute in any way that there's some real benefits in the short run. For me, the question is, how do you weigh those short-term benefits versus the long-term costs? And that's an open question. But that's what I would bring to it, and I'll play that off him,
Yeah.
see what he thinks.
So do you wanna,
You wanna do
so
the?
we'll set the next meeting?
Okay. Yeah, I can, actually, I can.
Discuss it in this meeting, and let's see if we can't set up some kind of a time frame to make this trip.
Okay, I will
No.
email Jerry, see if they're looking to do anything. If not, maybe we can just get one going on our own. So I'll do some research in Bradford County,
Mike,
some
you
of
said
the places.
where they're drilling the most is where? Bradford County and Tioga? Yeah?
Are those established wells though, or are they well sites?
It's like top counties, top operators. Oh, we got operators. Doesn't really say.
Next meeting is May 6th.
I mean, you know, realistically, you don't wanna go to someplace that just has all wells already, you know, pumping and all finished, and
Right,
you're not
right.
seeing them actually,
Actually,
Drilling the wells.
Just starting into it.
you know.
But that,
And
you
some of
know,
them just finishing. You
it
know,
might
if you
be
go
a
two
good
places.
thing, because we can talk to them about how the cycle went and what it's like now after they
Well, in
left.
perfect well, you find a county where, you know, they've already, you know, they've got some established wells, so you can see what it looks like, what it would look like a year after they've started, but they're also still, you know, starting some new ones, and so you could get both. I don't know if you can also see ones that are already dry, but, you know, you can
Mhm.
see them, you know, get a slice of time that way.
I've been to Demick, and the situation there, as I could see it, the actual drilling is pretty much over, although there might be some that's still going on, but most of the wells are established, but it was something like 4 years ago, which would mean it's more or less in the midpoint of the boom cycle. But one thing I would caution you is, if you do go, it really matters whom you speak to. You will get such divergent points of view, whether you talk to the town officials or you talk to people whose wells have been contaminated. And boy, it's absolutely polarized. You will get totally different. And I would somehow, if you're going to do this, I would urge that you try to speak to both sides, because you will get very different perspectives.
You know, Tom, you know, when you think about this whole thing, if you want to really back up and take a look at it, what's the most important thing? It's certainly not the economics. To me, it's environmental. Because
Well,
if
that's a
you,
matter of opinion, you can debate that, I mean,
Oh, well, I know,
no, I'm
but-
serious, you
but I
know.
think a rational man would have to say, you know, we can't live in a place that's not viably, organic. I mean, you know, we have to have
Well,
a.
you and I might agree on that, but somebody might say, look, we need the energy to keep the society going,
Yeah,
and
well,
there's a cost,
there's a lot
and
of
some
ways to
people
do it.
have to pay the cost, and, you know, I mean, this is a debatable point. And it does matter what your values are, whether you think that the environmental issue is more important, or whether you think the economic one is more important. I would also add to that the long-term fate of the planet. I mean, I'm not kidding. You know, this fossil fuel stuff is not good.
Take an 80-year-old man and offer him $1 million or vitality again. And what do you think the answer's gonna be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this is the age-old dilemma. I mean, short-term economic gain versus long-term. You know, most of us operate on the short term. If you can get something that might be harmful to your children and grandchildren, you might think about it, but if you really benefit from it immediately, kind of forget about.
Yeah.
But it's a real question. I think you do have to decide. Ultimately, people have to make a decision about what values are most important. But I'm not going to answer that.
So back to the question as to where we're going, about what time, what's the time schedule as to when we're going to try to plan something like this?
Well, what if I work on it over this
We'll make that
month and
decision next
then
month.
come back with some options?
Okay.
How about if we all research where the best places to go?
Good idea.
Try to get
Yeah.
Okay,
try to get
Okay.
something together that way.
so that's the next step.
I mean, it'd be nice to do it after the next meeting, because maybe you'll have
New
a
members.
full
Yeah.
Right.
council, commission by then.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Yes, we expect to be here next month.
Hopefully we'll have more. And we like ideas too. If anyone would like to say something, you're more than welcome to say it. Appreciate it.
I think you guys are taking a really good approach to solving this issue and listening to all sides of the fence. And I think it's really good that you guys are taking this like real slow approach, and like, cause it really is gonna affect your community.
That's just our nature, we're slow people.
I'm from small town Iowa, so I understand. So
He's from Iowa, they have windmills all over the state.
Really?
Oh,
See
they're
that?
loaded with them out there.
Yeah, well, that'd be a nice way to go.
Huh?
That'd be a nice
Well,
thing to have.
That's what I was asking about economically, are they producing enough that they're self-sufficient?
Mm.
You know,
it's not, it's like 20% or something like that, but it's a step in the right direction.
Sure, that's the thing, you have to work at things like this till you get it right.
Yeah.
You know, the way we're doing it now is, we're not going anywhere with this thing, you know, you're pulling more carbon from the ground and you're screwing up the earth, you know, and this is the only one we have. We're not getting it off of it right away, so I think we ought to work with what we have.
A good case study might be what's happening in North Dakota right now with all the drilling up there. So that short-term gain is, I mean, it's booming up there right now. But how long is that going to last, and what are going to be the results? Because it just seems like everybody just really swarmed up there, and I don't know what kind
Well,
of
they done the
studies
same
happened.
thing for Alaska with the oil. I mean, that's, but they're still, living, existing, and everything's still going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of it's not for the better, but.
You know, they have a lot of land up there too, you know.
I guess they
If
do.
they one oil
Yeah.
spill doesn't, you know.
Yeah, I've been across it, I know how big it is.
But where is it? Down in Alabama where they had the big oil spill just a couple of days ago, right?
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas, yeah, that's a pretty bad one.
Really?
And now,
We're
let me
back
tell you
to
something, this sand oil that they wanna pipe down here,
Yeah.
that stuff's really bizarre, because that doesn't work the same way as regular oil. Regular oil stays on top of the water and they can kinda kind of get it off the water, right? They have different ways of sifting it off or whatever. Well, this sand oil goes right to the bottom and it gels. Now, they haven't figured out a good way to get that out of the water yet. That's
That's the Keystone pipeline?
the Keystone,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they wanna run that right through the Midwest.
It's also much more corrosive, that's why the pipes burst. It's a very different,
That's right.
chemically, it's very different from crude oil.
That's right, and they have to heat it up for the high volume. They have to heat this stuff up real high to make it flow, and that causes all other problems too. But it's you have to, you say, well, you got to have energy to live, and Tom. But it seems to me that Dick Cheney in a room with a bunch of buddies, you know what I mean, would make a couple $1 billion. Isn't the right way to do it. He should have involved a few environmentalists along the way.
There are different ways of doing it, but we're not at that point.
Yeah.
So, I have relatives in Germany, and it's quite amazing what they're doing over there.
You're absolutely right.
And
And that's what I was telling Earl the other day. And the farmers, what they're doing now, they're paying the farmers to put up solar panels. They have solar
I have a
panel farms
brother-in-law
over
that
there.
has solar panels on his
Wouldn't that
house
be
and
great
he
way to
makes
make a
money.
living?
Well, right here, Casey's got it on his barn.
Yeah, but you gotta have enough you can sell back to the grid.
Exactly, that's the
That's
problem.
that's the way to do it.
There wasn't enough there,
Yeah.
it's not working out for him. But apparently it's not big enough.
Yeah, that's what you need a lot of it.
you know.
But, okay, I have to get out of here.
Do we know when the next meeting is?
May 6th.
Sixth.
What's that?
May
Sixth.
6th.
May 6th.